This video's purpose is to demonstrate how to put up the spoke ceiling. Supplies that are needed are 12 poles, 24 carabiners, magnets, the spoke diagram, and the spoke bin. To begin, all the appropriate pick points should be lowered. Please reference the spoke diagram. First, put the spoke bin in the center of the room. It must be oriented correctly every time because the fabric strands are specific lengths for particular spots. To help with this, the spoke bin is labeled stage, back of room, kitchen, and storage so that you know which way it goes each time.
Even though you have your spoke bin oriented correctly, it's always very wise to do a double take. And you can do that by checking the labels that are on the panel. Down by the hoop, there should be labels that have numbers. And so I have verified that this is panel 3 and panel 4, which is exactly where I want them to be oriented to the stage.
Second, place the poles on the floor in the proper places. Third, start unrolling the fabric, beginning with panel 10 and moving around the room clockwise. Please reference your diagram to understand which panel is number 10. And a quick tip is 9 and 10 are facing the back of the room, not the stage.
One easy way to get these unrolled is to toss it. And that's perfectly acceptable.
At this point, you will be unwinding the lights and laying them on the floor, stretching them out to the pick point that they will be plugged into. Fourth, put the Velcro straps that the lights are secured with into the spoke bin.
So these Velcro straps are holding the lights that have been around just very much like an extension cord. And you want to get these as close to the top as possible. And we'll demonstrate that later when we talk about how to put a ceiling away. But at this point in time, I want to really stress that you just put these back into the trash can so that they don't get lost.
Fifth, hang the hoop onto the center pick point on the U-bolt.
Okay, whenever you're doing this hoop, you're going to want to be gentle and you're going to want to use 2 people because it can get very heavy with the lights. And then it's just hung right on the U-bolt. And now's a good opportunity for you to kind of look at your lights and just kind of gently straighten them out and make sure that all is well. You can now remove the trash can as well. You're done with it.
Sixth, place the poles through the end rod pockets and hang them onto the appropriate pick points using carabiners. Remember, reference your diagram to know which pick points are the appropriate ones.
You can leave the carabiners on these poles at all times, but this is what I'm doing, is just threading this through. Now I want to make sure that I have this fabric not twisted. So what it would look like if it was twisted would be like this. And when you went to put it up, it would be wrong and it would be sad because you'd have to undo it. This is the way it should look. Then you're just going to connect them to your U-bolts. You can actually set this pole on the floor like this and bring it to you. And then do the other side, because then you'll have 2 hands and you can actually hold on to this U-bolt. And this is what it looks like and why you're going to need to do the magnets appropriately.
Panels 9 and 10, 3 and 4 will be both sharing a center pick point. Remember that each pole needs to be on its own carabiner versus 2 poles on 1 carabiner.
So this is the center pick point that we're talking about for 9, 10, 3, 4. So I'm clicking this on and she's clicking her pole on. The reason this is important is that if you share the carabiner, it can be really difficult to take off.
Seventh, place the magnets in the appropriate places to ensure that the drape is even and flowing. Always start this process by placing a magnet on each end of the pole, securing the fabric near the U-bolt. Each fabric panel is angled, creating a long side and short side. This is fairly obvious to tell upon looking at the panel, but you can reference your diagram as well.
Every panel is angled, and because of that angle, you have a short side of the fabric, and then you have the long side of the fabric. You're going to work with these angles in order to create the drape appropriately. So the first thing that we do is secure the fabric on the end of the pole on each side. That's going to make it possible for you to begin placing the magnets in a place that will make the drape even. It's very instinctual for you to want to pay attention to this gathering on the pole as your guide to creating an even drape, but that will not work for you. You need to be looking out about right here. It's about 4 to 5 feet away from the pole, and what that actually is where the fabric begins to bend. You're going to start always with the short side, and you'll be able to tell this by looking at your diagram, but the more you work with this ceiling, the more you will know what's the short side or the long side. So I start here at the short side, and I have my hands here, but I'm looking again out to here. I'm traveling along with my hand with magnets ready, and I'm looking, and I can see where I need to secure a magnet. And I can see that because right here, you've got a change, how even it is here, and then it changes here. So that signals that that's a place to put a magnet. So now I'm gonna try to get that groove out of there, that fold, put another magnet, and move along just at the top, looking, again, clear out in space out there. Again, another magnet. Again, another magnet. Now, as you come to this segment, you can see with this particular piece of material, I've got a funny droopy right here that I don't particularly care for. And it's often just the way the fabric was sewn. So you can actually lift this up with this magnet and just secure it so that it's perfect. And there you have a panel that has a really good droop.
Your focus needs to be on the drooping of the fabric. This requires looking out about 4 to 5 feet away. A little trick is to do a kick where your foot connects to the fabric is where your eyes should be focusing on. Repeat these steps for all fabric panels. Lastly, you will hang the lights. They are to be placed in the manner of just floating slightly above the fabric, not laying on the fabric at all, and not laying outside of the fabric either. You are able to make these adjustments to the light strand by wrapping the strand around the U-bolt prior to plugging them in. This will also secure the light strand, which will not allow them to accidentally be unplugged while the event is going on.
We want the lights to float on top of the fabric, not touching the fabric, because if it does, it lays in the fabric, it droops down the fabric, and you ruin the drape. Not outside of the fabric, because it's just not very attractive. So there are some measures that you can take to ensure that you get this correct. So I'm bringing it in the inside corner of the U-bolt. I'm looking out toward the fabric. And when I get it where I want it to be, I start wrapping and then I plug it in. So there are a few things you can go through if you don't get the lights to click on. One is this up here. First of all, make sure that the lights are turned on at the switches. Then you're going to mess with this. And there you go. It came on. If the light weren't to come on at that point, you're going to check your connection here with your screw-in adapter to make sure that it's screwed in completely. So again, I'm just doing the next string of lights, putting it on the inside corner of the U-bolt, verifying that it's floating in the fabric. Begin the wrap, securing that it's in there nice and tight. And there we have one complete panel.
The client may also want some chandeliers. Please place these where they have requested. Now you can raise the ceiling and put the spoke bin in a place where no one will know it's a trash can.
Now it's time to take the ceiling down. We've had a wonderful event and the ceiling was perfect, but now we need to put it away. So how do we do that? We're gonna first start by taking the lights down. So we're gonna unplug them and unwind them. Very simple, just the opposite of what you did when you put them up. Gonna stretch it out and lay it neatly on the ground. Go to the other side, do it as well. One person can go around and take all the lights off. Then another person can be taking the magnets off. As long as it comes down evenly, it's fine. So now I'm going to take the magnets off of this. I have my apron on so that I can just put things away as I take them down. Now I'm going to take the pole down. I'm going to rest it carefully on the floor so that I can then use two hands to get it off here. Taking the fabric off the pole gently so that the carabiners don't rip the fabric. But you can leave the carabiners on this pole, on all of the poles. I'm going to just put the pole down on the ground. All right, now we're going to put the hoop onto the trash can. Again, I want to emphasize the importance of having the trash can appropriately oriented to the room. So I'm double checking. So I have my back to the back of the room. I have my stage to the stage part of the room. Now, it takes two people to do this, unless you're really strong. You got to lift it up and undo the carabiner. Then you're going to very gently put this down on the trash can, ensuring that you're not knocking lights right here. Now, the thing that keeps this hoop in place is this chain. You're going to want to double check to make sure that it's straight. Okay, now we're going to roll the fabric and put it into the spoke bin. We're going to start with panel 9, and we're going to work around the room counterclockwise, placing the fabric in the bin. So when you go to roll this fabric up, you want to try to get it as straight as possible. Now, because the ends are not even, you want to create an even starting point. So I flip this up. Hold it with my hand here. This hand, which is my left hand because I happen to be right-handed, I'm going to hold down at the base. I often just bring it really close to me. And then I start rolling it. And this hand just slides along. As it slides, I roll and hold. Slide and roll and hold. And it's just a process, and I will often just rest it against my stomach like this. My thumb happens to be in here, and it's very likely that you're going to get to the end of this and drop it and have to start over again, and don't be discouraged if that happens, because that happens to everybody now and then. So I'm here at the trash can, and I've realized that I have not taken out all of my red zip ties that I'm going to need for my lights. So I'm going to reach down and just pull those out. Then I take this and I gently place it at the bottom. Now, if you want to do this in teamwork, you're going to be doing every other one if there's two of you. So Kate will be starting right over here with this panel, rolling hers. I'm going to head over to this panel. I'm going to start rolling mine, and we'll just put them in sequentially. So she's going to place it in, and then she moves on to the next panel, and I'm going to place this one in too. So this is the last panel that's going in the bin. So now we have all the fabric in the bin. Now it's time to do the lights. And I am going to start at this end. You're going to roll this very much like you would an extension cord by putting your thumb like this. And then you're going to come around your elbow and thread it through here like this and around. And this may be very easy for some of you and not so easy for others. I'm going to come all the way as close as I can to the very end. Then I'm securing this with Velcro. And then it hangs gently next to the trash can. I wish I could say that every panel looks exactly like this in every building, but every building is special and unique, and so there are little differences. But I wanted to demonstrate that you should have the diagrams for your ceilings taped on to your door, because it just makes it easy to be able to know which switches to flip. And then I just demonstrate the switches for the spoke. The spoke is easy because the back is always all of them, and the edge that is closest to the stage is all of them except for the corners, and those are reserved for just chandelier use. The sides are in from the corner, skip the middle, down and in from the corner. And actually, those need to go up, not down. And then the center. And then you flip your master switch.
Our ceiling packages are an investment for our customers, and therefore these steps need to be followed every time to ensure a perfect ceiling to create the wow factor that customers deserve.